Like every other reasonable person in our society, I'm worried sick about the phenomenon of gun violence.
The attack of a deranged gunman rocked the nation after they opened fire on a Catholic school in Minneapolis, slaughtering 2 children and injuring at least 17 others on August 27th. Robin Westman opened fire through the stained glass windows of a church at the Annunciation Catholic School before committing suicide. But who was Robin Westman? Westman has been identified as a transgender woman from Minnesota. Westman applied to change names from Robert to Robin in Dakota County at 17 years old. In one 20-minute video, Westman flips through a disturbing handwritten manifesto. Each page is filled with unintelligible handwritten doggerel, as well as writings in Cyrillic, which include violent ramblings such as, quote, "I have had thoughts about mass murder for a long time." The writings also go into great detail about his decision to target Annunciation, where Westman's mother, Mary Grace Westman, worked until her 2021 retirement, according to a Facebook post by the church.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. As you know, our country is just devastated again with another shooting, this time at a Catholic school, where, as you saw from the intro, this young transgender man opened fire, killing 2 and injuring several others before taking his own life. There's just so much to be thinking about here and just praying about, not only for the people that have died within this shooting and the young kids that are just traumatized by it, but also for the family of this young man who was completely lost in life and everything that means. It brought to my mind a question: what has Bishop Barron said about these things in the past? And of course, he actually has an announcement, unfortunately, from another school shooting that happened about 3 years ago. There is invaluable insights from Bishop Barron here on how to understand the deep, rudimentary cause of why we're having such shootings with these young men in our country. Let's go ahead and watch what he has to say, and then I'll see you on the flip side with a few more insights that I am going to take away.
Like every other reasonable person in our society, I'm worried sick about the phenomenon of gun violence. I'm especially concerned about what it reveals regarding the status of young people, particularly young men. Time and again, disgruntled, angry, depressed, self-hating men, boys really, are the perpetrators of these awful crimes. As I speak these words, images of Robert E. Crimo, the 21-year-old who's confessed to killing 7 and wounding dozens more in Highland Park, Illinois, are circulating on social media. And his face has rather burned itself into my mind. He just looks so lost, physically, psychologically, spiritually. Now, I fully realize Crimo's exceptional. I don't tend to extrapolate from him to all young people. But frankly, evidence has been piling up for some time that youth, especially boys and young men, are suffering badly in our society. To give just one example, Derek Thompson's article in The Atlantic from April of this year reveals that from 2009 to 2021, I'm quoting him now, feelings of sadness and hopelessness among American teenagers rose astonishingly from 26% to 44%. And the increase in depression was consistent across all major categories: male, female, black, white, LGBT, etc. Here are Thompson's own words, I'm quoting again. Since 2009, sadness and hopelessness have increased for every race, for straight teens and gay teens, for teens who say they've never had sex, for those who say they've had sex with males and or females, for students in each year of high school, for teens in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, close quote. Well, Houston, we got a problem. What's causing this drastic increase in unhappiness? Obviously, there's no one answer, for the issue is complex, multivalent. But Thompson hazards 4 suggestions: social media use, the related decrease in real social contact, the stressfulness of the world to which contemporary media are giving young people far greater access, and finally, modern parenting strategies. Now, they're all interesting and worth exploring. If we had time, we'd look at all of them. But I want to focus on just one of his explanations and then offer a rationale of my own. So the number one reason he gives, social media, are making a lot of people, but especially young men and women, crazy and sad, period. This is the case, first, because social media produce an obsession with body image, looks, and popularity. And on the flip side, they give rise to a uniquely toxic atmosphere of judgmentalism, accusation, and criticism. Spend just a few minutes in com boxes and chat rooms on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or God help us, Twitter, and you'll immediately see what I mean. And what makes all this worse is that the devices that communicate social media were designed to be addictive. As a result, even those who admit that Instagram and Facebook are making them sad cannot stop themselves from logging on. Closely related problem is that social media are so dominant in the lives of kids that they effectively supplant activities that rather naturally bring joy. The average young person spends 5, 6, 7 hours a day on social media. And as a consequence, Thompson says, again, I'm quoting him here, compare with their counterparts in the 2000s, today's teens are less likely to go out with their friends, get their driver's license, or play youth sports, close quote. Moreover, as sociologist Jean Twenge, whom I've cited many times before, she's shown the tight correlation between screen time and depression. And I think for pretty obvious reasons. Because one of the surest firewalls against feelings of sadness is steady contact with other human beings. But the social media preclude this, locking a lot of our young people into this virtual world. I know this is oversimplifying a bit, but contrast the image of a young kid playing a lively game of baseball or soccer or something with his friends, and then the picture of a young kid hunched alone over his iPhone. I mean, which of those kids seems happier? Now, as for my own explanation of the phenomenon of teen depression, I'd emphasize a theme I've been harping on, frankly, for years, what I call the culture of self-invention. It's now a fundamental orthodoxy of the culture that values, epistemic, moral, aesthetic, are generated from within one's own subjectivity. In a word, each individual determines what's right and wrong, good and bad, beautiful or ugly, for her or for him. There's no truth, only my truth and your truth. There's nothing that's objectively beautiful, only what I think is beautiful and you think is beautiful. But see, everybody, this attitude is disastrous, both psychologically and spiritually, for it essentially locks a person into the narrow confines of his own little range of experience. It prevents a young man or young woman from moving outside the tiny ambit of what she can imagine or hope for. The best moments in life, in point of fact, are those in which objective values, I mean real truths, real moral absolutes, real beauty, break through the carapace, the protective shell of one's own subjectivity, and lift one up to the contemplation of something new, something that stands rather wonderfully beyond what one even thought possible. More to it, objective goods connect us to one another. As long as we're under the tyranny of subjectivist relativism, we're each locked in the prison of our own psyches. Perhaps, tolerating each other from a distance, but experiencing no real bond. However, precisely because they stand outside of anyone's private experience, objective values can bring a plethora of people together in a common love and devotion. Again, contrast two images here. The first, an angry, isolated teen insisting that the world respect his private conception of truth. And the second, of a group of teens joyfully giving themselves together to a common purpose, to a common good. In addressing the plague of gun violence in our country, I do indeed think that sensible legislation is called for. I wrote about that, talked about it just recently. But there are far deeper moral and cultural issues that have to be addressed too. Most notably, that of depression among our young people. So, two simple suggestions. Set limits to the amount of time that teens are spending on social media. And try to introduce them any way you can to the world of objective value.
So there's so many different things that we could say about this event. I think one of the things that really sticks out to me is the fact that so many young men are the ones that are perpetrating this violence. What does that mean? What does that reveal? Further specifically with this young man named Robin, he was a transgender. And I know people don't want me to bring that up, and we're kind of taught to push that to a side within our culture and our pluralistic, very inclusive culture. But I think it shows a fundamental phenomenon that is connected with a culture of self-invention, of we get to choose our identity, we get to choose even our own path in the ways that we think that we can live our life. And this completely severs us from reality. It severs us from what's really going on in the world and how we are to relate to other individuals, the duties that we are meant to inhabit as not individuals that get to use other people for our own sake and benefit, but as parts of a greater whole and how we have to serve other people. It's really sad to me that his mom was Catholic. I don't know if you thought about that as well. It's like just how important it is for God to intervene, in His grace, and I think many people would think like, "Man, what was his mom doing?" But you see, sometimes it goes beyond that. It goes beyond the parents in many situations. For example, in my own upbringing, I had great religious parents, but I often rejected a lot of what they had to say. And it was influences outside of my home, really good influences outside of my home, that helped me to perceive the right way. And as I've gotten older, I see just I'm so thankful for how my parents trained me and taught me. But there is something more that people need. They need good priests to teach them. They need other people within their life, coaches, ball coaches, etc., great teachers. Um, that teach them and show them a different side of the human lived experience in society. It can be easy to be guarded within family. It can be easy to be accepted within your family. And of course, this is all good things. I'm not saying these are bad things. I just wonder about that situation of how it um, became so bleak because it seems that he had a great upbringing. He had great parents who served their church and served really well. Um, I guess it reveals sin, but not only sin, it reveals just how far our society reaches our young people and how insidious our culture of self invention is, how insidious our relativism is, as Bishop Barron is saying here, that we need to point young people back to objective value. They need to get off of their phone and into the real world. They don't need a virtual world with virtual relationships. They need real people and real relationships. They need to be playing sports. That's a big thing I don't talk about a lot, but I want to talk about more. How important sports was for my upbringing. How having great coaches who disciplined me, that were honest with my ability and they kind of put me in check on some things, but they also encouraged me in other ways. How important sports was for communal bonding, developing friendships, how important sports are. And if you're not into sports, like other like groups, like I don't know, crochet groups or reading groups, whatever it may be, how important those communal aspects are. And of course, that the example par excellence with that is the church, where we come together as a group and a community to worship the triune God together, and how that unites us to Christ. And in being united to Christ, we're united with everyone else. And again, it's not just the people within the pews, but the people out in the world around us. Again, I could say a lot more with this, but I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. Please be sure to be praying for the situation, for the people involved, for the family on both sides that have lost people. And again, it's important to remember that Robin took his own life, so his family is suffering as well. We're not going to scapegoat here. We're going to be like our Savior, and we're going to love people, and we're going to pray for the everybody involved within the situation. All right, that's all I have for this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Remember that Christianity is Christ, and without Him, there is no Christianity. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.